One of the biggest fears people have with electric cars is range. A daily 20-kilometre commute with a bit extra to pick up the kids from school and do an evening grocery shop is easy peasy for modern EVs with their massive batteries. But Toyota's latest EV, the bZ4X, is a RAV4 sized family SUV, and this one even has options like ski racks, a tow bar and all-wheel drive. So Toyota is clearly expecting families to take these on a good old-fashioned Kiwi road trip. And you know what I love? A freak shake from the B2B bakery in Palmerston North, which is 135 kilometres away. So let's hit the state highways in the bZ4X and see if it really is up to the task of being a do-it-all family car.
Naturally, the first job is to charge it up. Hidden under the rather spacious 450-litre boot is the charge cable. However, because the bZ4X has a massive 71.4 kilowatt-hour battery, using the standard 240-volt wall charger takes 39 hours to fully charge from completely flat. The good news is you can get a dedicated wall box charger installed at your home, which cuts the total charge time down to just 9 hours. The final option is to use a public charging station. A 150 kilowatt DC charger can get it from 10% to 80% in just 30 minutes. For now though, it looks like the freak shake might just have to wait until tomorrow.
Well, it's a new day. It is just as windy as before because of course this is Wellington, and it's time to see what the bZ4X is like. Getting in is easy peasy because it's got keyless entry and push button start. And it's got electric memory seats, so if you and your significant other are both going to be driving the car, then you can program in your seating position over here to avoid those very painful knee banging instances on the steering column when the seat's too close. But the passenger seat is manual and it doesn't have a glove box, which is a bit odd. The rest of the interior though is fantastically laid out. Screen, HVAC controls, drivetrain stuff, nice and simple. Closest to the driver, you've got your handbrake, which goes off automatically, the stationary brake hold, and the one-pedal drive mode, along with this very interesting shift knob assembly here in the middle, which I find very satisfying to use. And on the other side, you've got your eco mode, the 360-degree camera, which can look through the car and all around the outside. It even has a self-park feature, traction control, and X mode, which Toyota developed alongside Subaru. Aha, a motorway on-ramp. And I'm expecting the bZ4X to shine here because there's two drivetrains available. You've got the pure model, which has a front-wheel drive 150 kilowatt motor, or this all-wheel drive model, which possesses 160 kilowatt of all-wheel drive fury. From about 0 to 60 it's absolutely blistering, but of course in typical EV fashion after that it really starts to taper off. But this has more than enough power for zipping around town and making swift overtakes. And the best part is it's all protected by a 3-year or 100,000 kilometre car warranty and an 8-year battery warranty. The only trouble with the more powerful version is that it does affect the range. Toyota claims that the front-wheel drive version can go 535 kilometres on a single charge, whereas this all-wheel drive one goes about 50 kilometres less. But on our road trip today, we will see if that is really the case. Now that we're on the motorway, I can demonstrate some of Toyota's excellent safety features. My only complaint is that the buttons you use most often, the set, increase and decrease speed buttons, require you to reach across the steering wheel. To me, it would have made more sense to mount them here on the side where they're easy to get to, keeping your hands on the wheel. However, despite the unusual layout, everything works flawlessly. The adaptive cruise, even though I have it set for 100, will perfectly follow the car in front, right down to being completely stationary, and the lane keep assist keeps you right in the middle of your lane perfectly, which really does take the stress out of driving long distance. And naturally, it has blind spot monitoring for changing lanes on the motorways, forward collision warning to stop you from ploughing into things, cross traffic alert from all angles. It'll even detect if someone is coming out of an intersection from the sides, and of course if you're reversing out of a car park, it can detect people at the back as well. And a driver attention monitoring system, which is steering me down here in the steering wheel to make sure that I remain concentrated on the road. The good thing about all of these features is that for the most part they are pretty dormant. They only kick in if it's like a really disastrous scenario, and I don't find them annoying at all. And naturally, all these safety features help to give the bZ4X a 5-star safety rating. The seats are absolutely fantastic, and they're heated and cooled, so you can always stay at a comfortable temperature. With the gauges being mounted right up here on top of the dash, it means that you don't really need a heads-up display, and glancing down will give you a clear view of the speed that you're doing. I love the small steering wheel. It makes it feel really tight and nimble for a pretty large SUV. The infotainment TV screen here in the middle has got every feature you could ever need. As I mentioned, the 360 camera, which can look through the car so you can kind of see how you're navigating a car park, which is great. It's got navigation, wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, Bluetooth, radio. The graphics are slick. It doesn't really have any animations, which means as soon as you click any of the buttons here on the side, it just immediately changes the screen, which I like. The climate controls are also simple and easy to use, and I like that it has physical temperature switches here rather than having to tap away on haptic feedback buttons. I guess the only problem with this whole center stack is because it's all the shiny glossy black plastic, it does get absolutely covered in dust and fingerprints. You've got a wireless phone charger with a little cover to prevent temptation while driving, and 3 USB ports here in the front with a couple in the back for your backseat passengers. Speaking of the back seat, it's got excellent legroom and a pretty decent amount of headroom. The only trouble is because the floor is quite high with all the batteries being mounted under there, it does sort of lack a little bit of thigh support for people with long legs like me.
And so, after just 2 hours of driving and using a hair under 50% of the available charge, we arrived and ordered an excellent B2B Freak Shake. This Freak Shake really is a lot like the bZ4X. You wouldn't expect popcorn and a milkshake to go together very well, just like you wouldn't expect Toyota's first attempt at making an EV to be any good at all. But surprisingly, it's absolutely excellent. With the simply delicious Freak Shake consumed and around 170 kilometres of range left, it was time to hit the road home again.
Well, we've nearly made it home after enjoying a delicious Freak Shake in Palmerston North, and overall, as far as the bZ4X is concerned, there's not really a whole lot to complain about. It has excellent visibility, all of the safety features work flawlessly, it's extremely comfortable, the seats front and back are really, really good. I don't have any back problems at all. Naturally, it is very, very quiet. It's got power for overtaking. The built-in navigation has really nice graphics. I've had my music playing through Apple CarPlay completely wirelessly, and the claimed range of 485 kilometers puts it right on par with all of its competition, like the Skoda Enyaq iV, the Mustang Mach-E, and the Tesla Model Y. The problem is, it can't get anywhere close to that claimed range figure when driving on the open road. Toyota reckons this can go 485 kilometers, but when I fully charged it this morning, it said it had about 340 k's of range on the dash, and here we are having done just 280 kilometers of open road driving, and the range is 5, which is not quite enough for me to make it home after our Palmerston North trip today. Now, fortunately, there are fast chargers all over the country these days, and I've managed to find one not too far from home. It'll have the mighty bZ4X back up and running in no time at all. But this is the nature of EV ownership. Everything about this car is set up brilliantly for families. The space, the comfort, the ride quality, features, towing capacity of 750 kilos, and all-wheel drive. It really is a do-it-all family car. But as with any EV, if you plan to take it beyond the local confines of your neighborhood school run or work commute, where you can just pop home and charge it up for next to nothing, you're going to have to plan a hell of a lot better than I did on this trip, and make sure you top it up every 250 to 300 kilometers or so. However, despite the perhaps slightly embellished range claims, the glossy black plastic on the interior, the lack of power passenger seat, and the unusual lack of a glove box, the bZ4X is about as good as it comes for a modern EV. While it doesn't necessarily push the limits of technology in any particular area, it does do everything very well overall. And if you bought one, I think you'd be stoked. And so would the planet. Make sure to check out some of our other reviews on the Drive Life website, and we'll look forward to seeing you again next time.